Welcome in, everybody, to this week's Line Movers Network College Football Podcast. With Ian, I'm David Dorman, and look who's back, the Tutor, off of his awesome week last week. Everyone loved it. He's back. Welcome back, Tutor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Ian, how we doing?
Oh, great. Another weekend of college football, more answers, more questions, I think, actually, after last weekend. So it's amazing. We're almost at the end of October, and we have no idea who'll be playing for the national championship.
Let's get right to it. We got a six-pack of games and a cocktail party. Start off in the Big Ten in the Big House. Michigan State is going to Ann Arbor. The Wolverines are sitting at a perfect 7-0. They are 22.5-point favorites with a total of 54.5. The Tutor can't get the smile off his face. We're going to the Tutor first. Michigan, big brother.
Well, I don't have a smile on my face. First of all, I want to say, hey, thank you, Line Movers, for the merch. But it is Michigan. It is Michigan and Michigan State week. So I got to get my Michigan jersey on for this. So
Looking good.
This is the obviously this is the most, you guys don't understand, this is the most nervous week for a Michigan State fan. 22 point, that's ridiculous. You got to throw everything out when you see these lines and spread in this in-state rival. There have been some wild ones, from the clock operator TJ Duckett touchdown game, the iconic Charles Woodson 1997 photo. There was a year where Michigan kicked 4 field goals and won 12-10 in the last second. There was the Bosch punt a few years ago, heard around the world. And then last year, a few bad reffing call. JJ came and fumbled the ball. And then what did Michigan do? They rebounded and won the Big Ten anyway. So since 2000, since this, the last 21 years, 22 years, it's dead. 11-11 right now. So there's been 3 overtime games in that time. There's 11 of those games have been one score away. Only 3 blowouts. Michigan have 2 of them. And each time they blew them out, Michigan ironically was the 15th seed, both in Ann Arbor. But on the flip side, this is Michigan State Super Bowl. They are dangerous. They are dangerous when they are unranked. And this what matters to them. And as much as I would love to see Michigan blow them out of the water, I don't see myself not sweating this game to the end. Both teams got the ref last week. Michigan looked pretty good, decent against Wisconsin. They scored on Ohio State a little bit. I expect Mel Tucker to justify his ridiculous salary and do some wild things this week. I don't see how Michigan State can run, so that's why I think we'll see some wild things, some wild passes, flea flickers, screens. I do expect Michigan to pull away at the end, but this will not be less than a 3-point game or 3 touchdown game. I mean, I'm going Michigan somewhere around 30-35 to 20. So Michigan State covers absolutely. The total will be right there. I wouldn't bet that, but I'm a Michigan fan, and anybody listening, take Michigan State to cover.
All right, the Tutor's on Sparty. Ian.
Yeah, these rivalry games, especially when you have one team that's got nothing really left to play for. They showed some fight with that win over Wisconsin. I don't think a lot of people saw that one coming, and thought their season was done. And show a little fight, and that this is all they care about. This is it. As Tutor said, this is it. And it's scary, especially in the first half, because this is where the fake punts, this is where the reverses, the trick plays, all that stuff comes into play for Michigan State here. And Michigan they have bigger goals at mind. This is not their most important game. They would love to beat them, but they have 2 or 3 more bigger games coming down the road, and they really got to be prepared for that. With games like this, I like to take first half on the underdog in the first half, because eventually talent will win. typically if there's not a massive amount of turnovers or just bad play and penalties. And so if the trick plays and the effort and energy is there for Michigan State, it'll be there for the first half, barring any craziness, bunch of turnovers, JJ McCarthy turning the ball over. I do expect Blake Corum to run over Michigan State in the second half and maybe be able to extend that lead and maybe get a 3 touchdown, because I have a feeling that if Harbaugh is 3 touchdowns up and they're got a chance close to maybe go up by 24, they might be kicking a field goal, especially considering betting is very legal in Michigan now, one of the bigger states for that. So just throwing that out there with that. But I like it close early. Like Tutor said, expect craziness, expect the unexpected. If they can get Michigan uncomfortable, it's scary. If Michigan stays disciplined, I think second half they'll be okay. Maybe a nice halftime betting spot, but should be fun. Nonetheless, we'll see what happens.
Great takes, boys. Remember to follow us all season long, all year long, Line Movers Network. We are on Twitter at _LM Network. So please follow us along. We are going to stay in the Big Ten. We're going to Happy Valley. The perfect 7-0 Ohio State Buckeyes are going to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. Penn State is 6-1. The lone loss, Michigan. It's not a whiteout and it's not at night. Ohio State is a 16-point favorite on the road with a total of 61. Let's go to you first, Ian.
Yeah, I think this line open in 14 is moving towards Ohio State, which I totally get. There's definitely a separation. We saw Penn State just not in the same class as the upper tier teams. We saw it against Michigan. They were lucky to beat it in the first half, and they kind of just got their doors blown off. But this is it for Franklin. I mean, how could Penn State fans, I know we got a lot of Penn State fans within our network, like deal with him not being able to beat these big teams if they can? I know they got it. He got a big win a couple of years ago, but if you get blown out by Michigan and Ohio State year after year, again and again, what do you have to sell anymore? And this is a big mismatch. So this is it for Penn State after getting they had a great way to rebound last week. I was very impressed with the way they were rebound against a beat up Minnesota, not a great team, but to get that big win for them was great for their psyche, great momentum going into this home game. But the line's moving to Ohio State, and I totally get it. Ohio State, they had their kind of slow game early on with Notre Dame, and they've just been getting better. Now they're healthier. Jackson Smith-Njigba is back. They got 2 great running backs now. CJ Stroud is kind of just coasting, and they should be able to name their score. Now, Penn State not having the whiteout, not having the night game, I think that does hurt them a little bit because the atmosphere won't be quite as big, but it will still be electric atmosphere. There's no doubt about it. It will be sold out. Happy Valley will be rocking. But can they actually stop Ohio State? I don't know how. I mean, they gave up 450 rushing yards to Michigan, and Michigan, they have maybe the best running back in the nation. Ohio State has plenty of good offense of talent as well. Can they stop Ohio State? I don't think so. And maybe it's the same situation as Michigan, where it's a close first half and then a 40-point second half. I can see that as well. You're going to get the best effort the first quarter, the first half. But I don't see how Ohio State doesn't win by 2+ touchdowns here, unless there's turnovers and craziness. And I just think Ohio State is just prepared for this moment. I think they're the best team in the country. And I think they put that stamp on it, and they set up that big meeting Thanksgiving weekend with Michigan.
Tutor, what say you?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, I don't know why Penn State wouldn't take the opportunity to do a night game whiteout here. They missed the boat on that one for sure. But we talk about Harbaugh, Michigan, how they have Ohio State problems, but we forget. I think people often forget that so did James Franklin and Penn State in general. Ohio State is like 16-3, I think, in the last 19 years against Penn State. And one of those years where they were terrible. Michigan beat them that year. Michigan went to the BCS. James Franklin is 1-7 against Ohio State, and they don't win big games, like Ian said. But however, we're bettors, right? And it isn't about winning the game. It's about the spread, right? This game's at State College. Penn State had nothing to lose. The last time Penn State was unranked at State College, they won 24-21 against number 2 Ohio State in 2008 at State College. Number 2 Penn State had a 12-point lead, 8 minutes to go, and they blew it. 2004 at home, unranked Penn State only lost by 7. So more of the story, Penn State seems like they get pretty competitive at home when they're playing against Ohio State. So similar to the Michigan State write-up I had, despite both Michigan and Ohio State like looking far better than both these teams, I think the score will also be close. I think Ohio State didn't. I'll be the only one to say this, but Ohio State did not look good against Iowa last week. Iowa shot themselves in the foot 1,000 times. And if they had a better quarterback, I think they could have won last week. So give me Ohio State to win. Absolutely. I don't think they'll cover. 40-27 or something like that. But it would be a sweat. I really think that just like Michigan State, Michigan, I think the Ohio State fans will be sweating a little bit there till the end.
All right. Mark Tutor down for 2 big dogs to start the show. Moving to the SEC, the big one in the SEC, 3:30 Eastern in Jacksonville, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Formerly known as
Ian, still current Florida Gators are taking on top-ranked Georgia, coming in at a perfect 7-0. Georgia's defense looks like they're getting back to like they looked last year. They are flying around the field on defense. Georgia is a 22.5-point favorite, 56.5-point total in Jacksonville on the neutral field. We're going to go to my Gator guy, Ian.
Yeah, there's some years I love this game. There's some years I dread this game. Right now, as a Gator, dreading it. When I was in school in my days and Urban Meyer was rocking the swamp and Tim Tebow was there and Chris Leak was winning games. Yeah, it was great to go down in Jacksonville. There were some great memories that I had there, but right now it's a little bit of a dread talking about the defending national champions, that maybe the best, the mark of the program and a rebuilding Gators program. Billy Napier is no stranger to this game. He's a Georgia native. He definitely knows what's going on. His dad's a Georgia high school coaching legend.
Really?
But what are we on the field? Well, talent-wise, advantage Georgia. Experience-wise, advantage Georgia, of course. And, but this is, again, a huge rivalry game. There's the neutral field, the field will be split. One half will be red and black. The other half will be orange and blue. And it is that perfect split. It's a beautiful atmosphere to go to. It's a great game to travel to. It's one of those, it's not a college atmosphere game, but it's a great rivalry game. And it's something that if you ever wanted to go do, it's definitely worth the trip. And you go to a pro stadium. It's a unique experience. So what can we expect in the game? Well, from a Florida perspective, it comes down to really one person. And that one person is Anthony Richardson. This guy can make plays. He has stepped up against the best competition. He went toe-to-toe with Cam Rising in Utah week 1 and beat him. He went toe-to-toe with Hendon Hooker a couple weeks later. Just came up short, but that was his best game as a Gator by far. And he has not shied away. Now, they did lose a couple weeks ago to LSU at home. They got steamrolled on defense. But Anthony Richardson tried to be a one-man show in the fourth quarter and almost brought him all the way back. I mean, if you saw a highlight of his 85-yard touchdown run, he's just smooth. And if Coach Napier lets him go a little bit, which they've been conservative about letting him run and kind of unleashing him, he can make plays. He could put up 28 points by himself. And that's what kept them in the game at Tennessee. So they have that big game experience right now. Georgia hasn't really been tested. Yeah, they had the Oregon game week 1. But we know Oregon was a different team week 1 than they are now. We throw that game away. I got to always get my nod out the tray over there. But Stetson Bennett, they have the experience. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing. The team is intact. But Florida has been in this atmosphere this year multiple times. They've been a game day game. They've been the national spotlight game. So they've been in the big moments. And that's good experience for a young team. Defense is going to have to make plays. Can they make plays? I don't know. I don't know if they can make plays. They don't have a lot of great players, but they do have some good players. And one guy who's going to have to step on the defensive side is Brenton Cox, the Georgia transfer, who's looking to get his name ahead of the NFL draft. He's going to have to make a couple sacks on Bennett. But look for Richardson. He stepped up against Hooker. He stepped up against Rising. I think he's going to step up again. I would not be surprised to see him run for 100 and pass for a couple touchdowns as well. Florida can make plays. They could keep it within 3 touchdowns. If this game is close at halftime, Florida's live. If Florida gets down 2 touchdowns early, which could happen, Georgia will win by 40. I think the over is the play, though. No matter what, I think the over is the play. I think points will be scored. It goes back and forth. It'll be physical. It'll be fast. I just hope Anthony Richardson makes some plays. This season, the game theory, the way he's played, tells me he does. I think they keep it within 3 touchdowns. Biased or not, that's what I've seen from him in big games.
Tutor, Bulldogs, Gators. What do you got?
So which Florida are we going to get? Are we going to get the Florida who beat Utah and went toe-to-toe with Tennessee? Or are we going to get the Florida who did a lot of dumb things against LSU, looked average against South Florida, Missouri? And I will say Missouri's not that bad defensively, but Georgia seemed to have it figured out now. But we can't ignore their weak schedule, right? Yeah, they played Oregon that first week, but I don't think that Oregon team was clicking yet like they are now. So Florida might be the best team on paper that they're playing, that they played all year. And weird things happen in rivalry games. This is the 3rd rivalry game we're talking about now. That the line, I know you said over, Ian, but the line I think is a little bit too high for my liking. I do think we're going to see some sloppy football, SEC football. But I do think that next week we'll be talking Georgia, Tennessee podcast talk for the #1 overall seed. But give me like Georgia 31-20. But it will be a sweat, just like the other 2 I said. I think all 3 games that we've talked about with the spreads being so high, I think all three of those games are going to go down to a last touchdown just by the favorite, and it's just it's gonna be a fun week. But I think all 3 will prevail.
Okay. All right. Let's stick in the SEC. The night game, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Tennessee Volunteers that we just discussed are playing at home in Knoxville, in Neyland Stadium, home to Kentucky. Kentucky is 5-2. Tennessee a perfect 7-0. The game is, like I mentioned, in Knoxville. Are they looking ahead? Tennessee has Georgia on the schedule next week. Tennessee is a 12.5-point favorite, total of 63.5. Ian.
Yeah, I think the schedule makers for Georgia and Tennessee should think a little bit the fact that they get Georgia's biggest rival the week ahead of Tennessee, and Tennessee's now got a ranked #1 potential quarterback coming into their house after allowing them to play UT Martin last week.
Yep.
We've talked. These are two very underrated, but maybe 2 of the best coaches in the country right here. Josh Heupel of Tennessee is absolutely the real deal. He did it at UCF. He's doing it at Tennessee. This guy can coach. He can coach offense. He can put teams. He can put points on the board, and he can make great players. He can make great players perform at a high level. They absolutely deserve that win against Alabama. They were a little sloppy. They gave up some points to UT Martin, but yeah, they did what they had to do. They put up almost 60. They did what they had to do. They're fine. But on the other side, Mark Stoops is a very, very, very underrated coach, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and he knows what he's doing. He's built a program in Kentucky that's been a perennial top 25 program now. Now we're talking about a Kentucky team that's been playing on New Year's Day for a lot of years in a row, and he's been doing it with Randall Cobb playing quarterback, and he's been doing it with now potentially #1 pick in the draft, Will Levis playing quarterback. So we got to give Mark Stoops a lot of credit because he's very, very, very good, and he will have a game plan for Hendon Hooker. Absolutely will. Can you contain Hendon Hooker and Josh Heupel's offense? I don't know. Now, I just don't know. He is so good. He's so dynamic. He's so good on a dual threat. Get him out in space. He's going to put up 28, 31 points for sure. Can Kentucky score 28, 31 points? I don't know. I really don't know. And Will Levis, yeah, he's healthier, and it makes a big difference. They come back, they get the big win on the road. They stamp. They still have a chance. They still are playing for something here. But I just, having the 2 SEC losses, Tennessee's got the bigger things in mind. I just don't know if they can score and keep up pace with Tennessee. Now they're going to slow them down a little bit. Will Levis is going to make some plays, but they just don't have the same kind of playmakers that Tennessee does all over the field. And I just don't think they could put up 35. If they could slow down the game, if they can get it grinded, if they can get it, within the 20s, you got a chance. I still think they're going to keep it within 2 scores, whether it's late or early. They were able to keep it close with Ole Miss despite getting down, found a way to come back. They're scrappy. They haven't been able to get over the hump in some of these big games. They've been able to get over the hump in Florida last couple of years. They just haven't been able to get over the hump in some of these big games. This is a big chance. It'll be a huge win for Mark Stoops. I don't think he gets it done. I do think they keep it within single digits, though, because Will Levis is that good. He is that guy, and he does drink mayo in his coffee. And he will keep it to within single digits. Hendon Hooker will struggle early on, but Josh Heupel's good enough to make adjustments and figure it out. And this will be an eye-opening game. You might turn the game on at halftime and say, like, wait, Tennessee's losing, and then they pull it off at the end. But I do think we set up a 1 versus 2 next week, and I think Tennessee hangs on at the end. I do think it is tight within the single digits, so it may Kentucky to cover, lean that way. Should be a fun game, though. Really, really good coaching matchup. 2 of the best coaches in the country that you might not have heard of.
Tutor.
Yeah, let me put it on record that Ian, he let you go first 3 times in a row because I think he's mad that he beat me in fantasy for a 6-0 team. So he's mad. So you got to take a lot of words out of my mouth. So we'll make this short and sweet. Is Georgia looking? Tennessee looking ahead to Georgia is the one question, right? Is Will healthy? Yep. That's the other question. Kentucky does have a decent defense, if good. I mean, maybe even good defense. Tennessee doesn't, right? I think if Will is ready to go, he's healthy. This could be a comeback spot for him, and he can reestablish himself as the top NFL prospect this week. It's going to be closer than people think, but I do think Tennessee's at home. They ain't going to mess around. Their offense is just a little bit better than Kentucky. I would say Tennessee 35-28, 35-27, somewhere in that range. I do think Kentucky covers. That's it. The first 4 picks so far, I think all these teams cover. I really do. But Kentucky might have the best chance to do the upset.
Thank you for bringing that up, Tutor. I'm sure really hurt my feelings.
First loss right there. Loss number 1.
You are right. To the Big 12 we go. Oklahoma State is coming off a huge, thrilling win, homecoming win last week in Stillwater. They knocked off the Longhorns. They beat Texas finally at home. This week, they're on the road in Manhattan, Kansas. They're taking on Kansas State. Kansas State is a small favorite. They're about a 1.5, 2-point favorite, a total of 56. I'm with you, Tutor. The line smells. What do you see here?
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. This almost seemed like last week with God, Ian, what game was that? Where some team was it TCU?
Oklahoma State and Texas.
And Oklahoma State and Texas.
Yeah. Oklahoma State is the real deal. I mean they blew the overtime game against TCU. This game's gonna be high scoring, and 56 doesn't make any sense to me at all. I could see this game getting pretty close to 50 at halftime. Yeah, Oklahoma State's gonna win. I don't know the score. Give me the money line. 42-35 over and Oklahoma State. I don't understand any of the line at all.
I like it. Ian.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was on Oklahoma State against TCU, then I kind of backed off and went with the sharp aspect of what's this line saying and go back Texas. And really the first half of the game, Texas is all over it. And then Oklahoma State, and something I've been talking about all year, Oklahoma State with a veteran quarterback and a veteran coach, no matter what, they found a way. Now they did blow that game against TCU. Questionable, but they were underdog. So they cover the spread. It's just something seems kind of off. There's no respect given to Oklahoma State, despite the fact that what we said last week, this is their Big 12. They're the face of the Big 12 the last couple of years. I mean, they're the team that's been most consistent. So why are they not getting the respect? In Kansas State, yeah, they've had a nice season, but they lost their 2 top quarterbacks to injury. Adrian Martinez did not play a series last week. Yeah, they got up early, but then their backup quarterback, Will Howard, looked pretty good against TCU. He got hurt, and then they totally lost themselves and lost the game to TCU in a similar way that Oklahoma State lost to TCU. So what's the difference here? What gives? Are we talking about Kansas State with a third string quarterback as a slight favorite against a team that's been ranked in the top 15 for the last 3 years with a veteran quarterback and a veteran coach? I don't see it. Oklahoma State's going to score. Nobody has been able to stop them all year. If Adrian Martinez isn't healthy, I don't know how Kansas State's going to keep pace. Deuce Vaughn's a little banged up. Yeah, he's a good player too, but Oklahoma State's got good players. They got real good players. Spencer Sanders is a very good quarterback, and he's proven it time and time again. I would jump on this line as early as you can because I don't think Kansas State's going to be healthy. I think we're going to get some news late that Kansas State. It was kind of weird that Adrian Martinez played a series and then was done.
That was
kind of little bit fishy there, and I think you might get some more antics here. Yeah, Kansas State's a nice program. They've had a nice year. I don't think they're at the level. Now this is a huge game because the winner of this game is in the driver's seat for that second spot in the Big 12 title game to take on probably TCU's got to win over both of them, so it'll be a rematch. Huge game, big time game. Give me the veteran quarterback. Give me the veteran coach. Guys who have been there before.
How did this game not hit? How did this game not hit 56?
Kansas. I mean, Kansas State's got that third string quarterback. That's the only concern. But Oklahoma State could put up 40 on their own.
Right.
Absolutely. Remember to follow my college football experts whenever you want on Twitter. Ian is at ROBINSIAN. Remember that's to follow Ian Robbins on Twitter at Robbins Ian. Also follow the tutor. You love him. He's great. Follow him on Twitter. He is on Twitter at DK Sleepers. Spell the sleepers out, end it with an S. Tutor is at DKSLEEPERS. And remember to follow us, the entire team, at Line Movers Network on Twitter at @the_LM Network. The final game of our 6-pack. We're going to the Bounce House in Orlando. Cincinnati, 6-1, really looking good. Showing last year was not a fluke at all. They are solid, and their coach is great. They're going to Central Florida, who's having a nice season of their own. They're coming in at 5-2. Cincinnati, very small, 1-point favorite, a total of 56. Tutor gave me a hard time, so we're going to him first.
This is the last game I had to study. I didn't know it was going to be on the table. It's too bad that Central Florida lost last week against ECU because this could have been bigger than it could be, right? They'd have been both ranked. This would have been for first place, undefeated in conference. But you know this is even spread, right? So obviously people in Vegas know that Central Florida can hang with Cincinnati. Cincinnati had been kind of just going through the motions, I feel like, in the last few wins. Barely beaten teams that they probably, but we don't know how good Cincinnati is, right? So I like Central Florida's offense a lot better than I like Cincinnati. They're at home. Give me Central Florida, it'd be close to the total, but maybe like 28-24 Central Florida.
Ian, what do you see here?
Yeah, I think we're going to see points. Number one, Cincinnati can score. Their offense has been clicking. Ben Bryant's having a nice season for Cincinnati. Defense isn't quite the same as last year. You lose 2 guys to the NFL like they did in the corners. It's not going to be the same. But that's such a flat spot for UCF last week. Such a shame, as Tutor said. I mean, this would have been a primetime marquee game. This is a ranking. This is driver's seat. This is, right into the BCS, the BCS games. Now you bring Houston to the mix a little bit. Now you bring some other teams into the mix. and you kind of put yourself on thin ice. But I still think these are the two teams that are on the path to get to the as the at large, the non-power 5 team. I think UCF was a total look ahead flat spot last week. As it turned out, I thought that with the veteran players that they had and the veteran coach they had and the loss under them already, they have a little bit of fire going into a tough ECU environment. But once they got down early, they were kind of done. You could kind of see it. You can see it the way that they acted. They had no fight left in them. I do think they gave their A performance right now. I think John Reese Plumlee is going to have a monster game. Gus Malzahn knows how to play against his big rivals. And let's face it, UCF, Cincinnati, they've been the face of the non-power 5 teams in the last couple of years. So this is a massive game. Winners in the driver's seat with Houston for a date in the title game. I like the home team here. I think some points are going to be scored. I like over 60. I like UCF to come out on top in the end. And I think they'll up by a touchdown or so. Should be a fun game, though.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate you following along. Again, that is the College Football Podcast with the Line Movers Network. Thank you for following along. I'm going to send it to Ian and Tutor. Yes, Ian.
Yes.
What do we got?
Before we sign off, just a little contest for our listeners here. Thanks for your loyalty. Thanks for staying with us for these couple seasons. And with the special guest Tutor, who runs the absolute best sports pools and contests around, we'll have a little sports contest for you in the comments. In the comments on YouTube, on our YouTube pages, we posted a video. If you're listening on podcast and audio, go to our YouTube page and you're gonna like and comment down here on the video. Give us a score of one of these games that we featured. Give us a score that you think. Winner, score, any of the games. You get that right, we'll send you a $50 cash prize plus a Line Movers hat of your choice. So we'll get in touch with you on that. Give us a like, give us a comment. Let's engage. Let's see who's gonna come forward. With a couple minutes left, let's also talk it up. It's almost like the end of October. We got Halloween weekend. We got some rivalry games. Tutor, playoff prediction. What do you think?
Tennessee beat Georgia, gets in. Ohio State beat Michigan to get in. That's 1-2. Alabama sneaks in. And let's give me TCU for the 4th spot.
Wow.
Dave, what do you think?
I'm going to take Tennessee, Georgia. I'm so torn on this Big Ten. I'm going to take Ohio State. I'm sticking with Ohio State. I liked Ohio State coming into the year. I'm going to stick with them. I like Ohio State, Georgia. Who was my third one? I'm sorry.
Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State.
Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State. And I'm going with the Tutor. I like TCU to win out. And this time they won't mess with TCU. They'll give the Big 12 their spot, what they deserve if they do win out. TCU, the Horned Frogs, for the final spot. Thank you, Tutor.
You guys set me up. I'm nervous about TCU this week. And they're not facing a very good West Virginia team. But, man, going on the road after these 3 big-time games, getting down in the second half, having to come back, big-time atmosphere. This prime for a letdown spot. But they get through this game, they can almost punch their ticket. The team that neither of you guys mentioned, Clemson. Clemson escapes with a win last week, kind of try to give the game away. Who's going to beat them? I mean, they got some big games left. They got North Carolina, they got Notre Dame, but they're going to be favorites in every game. They're undefeated. It's Clemson. It's going to be hard to put a one-loss team over them. While maybe Michigan is a better team if they lose, or Ohio State will be a better team if they lose, or Tennessee or Georgia or Alabama, or those are better teams. It's going to be hard to keep out an undefeated Clemson team. Going to be hard to keep out an undefeated TCU team. So I'm very interested to see if multiple teams from the Big Ten or the SEC, while I think the 5 best teams in the country land within those 2 conferences, I don't think 2 teams get in. That's going to be very interesting.
But we weren't naming the 5 best teams. We were naming who made.
That's very true. So
5 best teams might be Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. That's not how things work.
100% agree. I can't wait for the 12-team playoff in a couple of years. Just cannot wait for that one. That's for sure.
Sign me up. I agree. Should be awesome.
So comment on this video. Thanks, guys. David, you take us out.
Win the cash, get a hat, comment on the YouTube. I'm going to let Tutor and Ian send us out. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. For Ian Robbins, the Tutor, I'm David Dorman. Take it away, Tutor.
Go blue.
Ian.
Just win. Just win.
Trey, we'll see you back next week. Make this a little round table, get better, have some fun. Happy October. Let's go, line movers. Let's go. Expect some big upsets this week, huh? Maybe.
Feel better, Trey.